James Abram Garfield was born on November 19, 1831 in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. He grew up on a small farm in Ohio with his orphaned mother. Garfield entered politics a year after completing college at Williams College in Williamstown, Massachusetts. Garfield was elected to the Ohio Senate in 1859 as a Republican. During the secession crisis, he advocated coercing the seceding states back into the Union. He was a Union military leader who led a victory in Middle Creek, Kentucky against the Confederates. He soon became a brigadier general, 2 years later a major general of volunteers. Meanwhile, in 1862, Ohioans elected him to Congress. President Lincoln persuaded him to resign his commission because it was easier to find major generals than to obtain effective Republicans for Congress. Garfield repeatedly won re-election for 18 years and became the leading Republican in the House. At the 1880 Republican Convention, Garfield failed to win the presidential nomination against his friend John Sherman. Finally, on the 36th ballot, Garfield himself became the dark horse nominee. By a margin of only 10,000 popular votes, Garfield defeated the Democratic nominee, General Winfield Scott Hancock. As the president, Garfield strengthened federal authority over the New York Customs House, stronghold of Senator Roscoe Conkling, who was the leader of the stalwart Republicans and dispenser of patronage in New York. In foreign affairs, Garfield's Secretary of State invited all republics to a conference to meet in Washington in 1882, but the conference never took place. On July 2, 1881, in a Washington railroad station, an embittered attorney who had sought an ambassadorship shot the president.
The man's name was Charles J. Guiteau. On July 2nd, 1881, President Garfield was shot at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C. by Guiteau as Garfield attempted to board his train. President Garfield was not killed from the initial bullet shot. However, Garfield was mortally wounded and laid in the White House for weeks. People such as Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, tried unsuccessfully to find the bullet. Graham Bell used his new induction balanced electrical device which he had designed, which is intended to find the bullet. Physicians applied quinine, morphine, brandy, and calomel and fed Garfield through his rectum. All of these techniques were later noted to possibly be the cause of Garfield's death. On September 6th, Garfield was taken to his New Jersey seaside home. For a few days he seemed to be recuperating. However, on September 19, 1881, he died from an infection and internal hemorrhage.
Oh, delicious.
Oh, great Scott! I'm almost late for my train! Wait!
On September 8, 1841, Charles J. Guiteau was born in Freeport, Illinois, the fourth of 6 children of Jane Auguste and Luther Wilson Guiteau. Guiteau's family was not wealthy in his childhood and life was tough. In June of 1860, Guiteau joined the Oneida community after his father told him to leave high school. Guiteau would leave Oneida later after filing a lawsuit against the leader, John Humphrey Noyes. On June 11, 1880, Guiteau was on the SS Stonington when it collided with the SS Narragansett. There were many casualties, but Guiteau survived and felt his soul was spared for a higher purpose. After failing as a lawyer in Chicago, Guiteau turned to politics. Guiteau wrote a speech for Garfield called Garfield vs. Hancock. Guiteau thought he won Garfield's presidency, even though the speech was only used twice. Guiteau continued to apply for ambassadorship because he thought Garfield owned him. These requests were turned down and Guiteau became content with Garfield.
Guiteau may have been suffering from schizophrenia. Guiteau, an attorney, felt he was owed a government job for his few speeches made in support of Garfield during the 1880 presidential campaign. After repeated attempts to obtain an ambassadorship, he was told by Secretary of State James Blaine never to return. Guiteau tried to make it seem like he did it because of divine command. Many say that Garfield was assassinated to stop the reforming of the civil service system, even though his successor, Chester A. Arthur, picked up the torch and reformed the whole.
From 1882 to 1885, the United States underwent an economic recession. The recession came as a result of gold depletion in Europe and the national banks in New York. From this recession came a panic in 1884, and the country was very near to a depression state of our economy. During his presidency and campaign, President Garfield maintained a policy of laissez-faire economy. This is an economic method where the government is hands-off from the people's business actions. Many fear that if Garfield had lived to encounter this situation, he would not have changed his methods. President Garfield's laissez-faire principles could have turned the Panic of 1884 and the current recession for the United States into a depression. From the failure of the country's economy during this period, angry farmers formed a populist political movement.